Next, most important thing, second most important thing on how to win in this market, use a great agent. There is definitely agents that we see that our clients are working with that are great agents, just not in this market. It takes a little bit more zing, a little bit more work to win in this market. So definitely questions that I would be asking the agent that you're working with is, how many homes do they sell? How many homes are they making offers on, and how many of them are winning? I'll be honest with you, there are probably a handful of agents that we work with that literally they'll make 2 or 3 offers, and that's it. And they will win on the fourth or the third. There are some agents that they will make 10 or 12 offers and they will lose every one of them. So when you have that, there is more that the agent has to be doing to make your offer stand out. They definitely need to be talking to the listing agent and building that rapport, because that makes a big difference. And also your agent's reputation matters also in this market. If there's someone, hang on one second, I'm making my thing work. If they are not having a great reputation or they are super challenging to work with, you will get bypassed simply because of them. So be really conscientious of who you're working with. Make sure you vetted them really well, and that you are really confident that they are the best agent to represent you in this kind of market. Also, make sure that they are working quite a bit with buyers. So some people are just doing listings or predominantly listings. And so they just sometimes are not as equipped on what matters or what will get the offer acknowledged and accepted in this kind of crazy market. Number 3, find out the preferences of the seller. So I know you guys are not, immune to this, but it's a seller's market. So they hold a lot of the cards right now. So find out what their preferences are. Maybe it's a really quick closing because they've moved on and, this house is costing them dollars every single day that it sits open. Maybe they are building a new house and their time frame is uncertain and they don't want to do a double move. So you being really flexible to do that would be great for them. It would make your offer stand out. Another thing that we're starting to see is, I know that this is not something that clients want to do, but, offer to pay their closing costs. Closing costs as a seller are a little bit less, quite a bit less than as a buyer. And again, to make your offer stand out, that's something that we have seen clients do to help the seller make some decisions and save them some money. Give them additional time when moving out. So sometimes in previous years, the buyers would take possession, right away after they sign their documents, or sometimes within 24 hours. Now, you can give them 2-3 days, in order to move out, and then you would take possession of the property. Got to be careful. If it's longer than probably 2-3 days, there probably has to be some kind of agreement that you're going to walk through and make sure there hasn't been any additional damage done. But being a little bit flexible and giving them more time. And then agent call and chat with other agent and build rapport. That should have been on the previous one. 4th item, escalation clause. So I'm not sure if you guys know what an escalation clause is, or if it's come up before, but an escalation clause basically says that, hey, we are willing to offer $300,000 on this home, and we are willing to go up to $310,000 to beat the next offer. So what that means is that your offer will automatically increase as they get other offers. This gets a little bit nerve-wracking for clients because you will set, the amount that you want to go up, or you might say we'll go up $1,000 higher than your highest offer. But again, those are things that are winning in this market. Appraisal gap coverage. So we're going to talk in a whole next section about appraisals, but appraisal gap coverage. So one of the biggest challenges right now is the properties are being listed at a price let's say you get a home that is 300,000 and that's what it's listed at. Well, people are bidding over and above that listing price. And when you have an appraisal done, an appraisal is done for a lender to validate, or kind of a third party to give validation with regards to the value of that property. And when lenders are looking at that, we are going to lend you your mortgage based on the appraised value or the purchase price, whichever is less. So what that means is, before the frenzy of this market, clients used to write an offer, and then if for some odd reason the appraisal did not come in at that purchase price or higher, they would go back to the seller, renegotiate that offer, and they would sometimes meet in the middle, or they would come down, the seller would come down to the appraised value or whatnot. Well, nowadays, sellers simply aren't willing to take a chance that they're going to renegotiate anything because they've had so many offers. So then clients are saying, we will do an appraisal gap. So if it comes listed at 300 and we decide to offer 320 and the appraisal comes in at 310, we will cover the 10 grand difference between the purchase price and the appraisal. And we will not ask the seller to change anything, renegotiate anything, do anything. So again, some of these things do seem fairly scary. However, if you're working with us, we definitely are going to give you the knowledge, or in a particular home, we will tell you, hey, if you go 10 grand, it's going to be X. If you go 15 grand, it's going to be X. We can show you really specific numbers on that. But those we see mostly at this point on all the purchases that are being written. And then I know this is really scary for some people, but I promise you it matters and it's important. And it's a video love letter to the seller from you as the potential home buyer. And a lot of agents will have you write a letter, maybe put a picture in there about why you want to do the home, like you have a dog and a kid and you love the fenced backyard, to really evoke emotion, because emotion sells. The next level up is a video love letter, where you do a quick 30-second video on your phone about what's really motivating you and what you love about this home. And the biggest impact on this is that so much of our communication is nonverbal. So when you're doing a video, they can see you, they can hear you, they can see your facial expressions, and it's just having way more impact than just a letter that they may not even read or may not even get all the way to the bottom. So this video will definitely make your offer stand out, and it'll put emotion and conviction to your offer versus just numbers on a page. Okay. Okay, next one. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and see if anyone has any questions before I launch into appraisals. So any questions on how to win in this market with the escalation clauses or the appraisal gaps or anything along those lines. And you can feel free to unmute yourself, or you can feel free to put yourself in the chat box, either one. And if you don't have questions, you can just unmute and say, all good, or put it in the chat box. So I don't want to move on to the next section unless I'm sure. Okay, I don't see it. Okay. Sounds wonderful. How do you win against full cash offers? I know. Honestly, the number one thing that I've seen is that video, that motivation, that connection. Again, if you're waiving, one thing I forgot to put on there is inspection contingency. You can waive. You can do one on your own for your own peace of mind, but you can't have it contingent. So I apologize. That's one thing I forgot. But if you're doing an appraisal gap, if you've got an escalation clause, if you're doing all those things, plus if you work with us, we have a $5,000 close on time guarantee. I mean, honestly, your offer is as good as cash. At the end of the day, it's as good as cash. And honestly, that video message, sometimes people are just like, I want to sell to those people because I like them. I liked their story. I liked what they had to say. That moved me. That's about the only thing against full cash. Keep in mind too, full cash can be a little bit flaky because they do have that ability to go anywhere and usually win. So I've seen more people say, oh, forget it, we're done, within 24 hours of signing, because they have, like, to review and sign, and then they're like, oh, nope, we're done. So they can be a little bit more flaky, but again, the video and then probably a lot of rapport from your agent will help too. But that's about all I got for you. But that is absolutely tough. Okay, so it looked like that was all the questions in that section. So I'm going to move on to appraisals. All right, so appraised value or purchase price, whichever is less. So this is what we will lend on. So like I said, if you have a property that was listed, so list price, which is basically the fair market value of the home and what it potentially could be sold for. Purchase price is what a buyer is willing to pay for and has on a contract. And then the appraisal is really the data behind what similar homes are selling for. So, a home in the Wayzata School District that is 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, it's going to be compared to other homes in the Wayzata School District, similar layout, similar square footage. That is not going to be compared to something in the Hopkins School District with 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. Similar homes, similar features, school district very big, location very big. So appraisal is the data. Appraisal gap, covering the difference. We covered that a little bit previously. So again, this becomes a really big challenge for clients, because if you are buying in that 3 and 5% down range, unless you have money from a family member, a gift or something like that, or money that you can pull from somewhere else, you probably don't have a lot of money to cover the appraisal gap. So it might simply not be something that you can offer, because what happens is if you buy it for a price, there's a difference. You are typically paying dollar for dollar for what that appraisal did not come, for what the appraisal came in at versus what the value or the purchase price of the home is. If you are doing a 20% down, to be really candid with you, I would probably waive the appraisal altogether, because if the appraisal came in low, what we could do is you could pay the cash difference, or rather than doing 20% down, we could do 15% down. We could raise up what we're borrowing you and probably not have you come in with any additional monies. So we could do that at 20%. We could do that, and we could 15%, and we could do it at 10%. But at 5 and 3, we just don't have a lot of wiggle room to go less than that down. So I thought about actually showing numbers on what an appraisal gap can look like, but when I do this with my clients on pre-approval appointments, sometimes their eyes cross because it's way too many numbers. So if you ever have this question, or if you want to follow up with me and say, I would like an example, I would be happy to jump on a call or jump on a video and show you exactly what it could look like. But it's a lot of numbers, and there's a lot of what ifs alongside of it. But again, if you're doing 20%, 15%, I probably would even waive the appraisal, because so far, knock on wood, we had not had any appraisals that have come in less than or short more than 3% of the sale price. So we've had, 0.5%, 1%, the max was 3%. So knock on wood, we've not had anything more than that. So if an appraisal comes in 3% short of the sale price, you going from 20% to 15% absolutely works to cover that gap without any additional funds. Okay. Appraisal waiver. So this is a big one for clients, because sometimes there are no appraisals needed at all. The challenge is we don't know this until we actually have a purchase agreement. You actually have a property, the purchase price, and we can run it through an automated system. So what is an appraisal waiver? It basically just means that there's no appraisal needed, that what you're buying it for, there's enough data out there that supports that that home has been value supported, and we don't need an appraisal period. I mean, that is honestly the best outcome. but they are not automatic. And it takes into account your whole credit profile, meaning what you're putting down, what your debt ratio is, what your credit score is, and then what kind of home it is and what area you're buying in. So these are the options that you could get an appraisal waiver. So a 20% down on a single family primary home purchase, a 20% down on a primary condo, a 10% down rate and term refinance. So again, 10% equity position. And this just came out as of Monday. No second homes and no investment properties are any longer, for us, allowed to have waivers on them. Okay. So again, a waiver just means you don't need an appraisal at all, and you can avoid the appraisal fee, and there's no questions about an appraisal gap or anything along those lines. So it's the best possible outcome, but only if you've got 20% down or 10% on a refi. Okay. Anyone have questions on the appraisal stuff? What we look for, what it could look like, anything along those lines before I move on to return on investment stuff. Anyone? Let me see if I can get in the chat. I want to make sure you're in there. I'm good. All right, thanks guys. All right, next section. So return on investment. So this is something where I think it's very cool to kind of forecast out a little bit, pay a little bit of attention to what you're buying and the long-term strategy of holding on to a home. Because as I show you, or as my next couple of screens will show you, a home is some of the best average returns that you can get. So here's a quick little math problem that I did. So if you purchase a home for $200,000 and do a $160,000 mortgage, and you get 5% appreciation in a year, that's $10,000 worth of growth. You invested $40,000, obviously your down payment. That's actually a 25% return on your investment, because you're getting $10,000 worth of growth in equity. Okay. So if you turn around and sold it, there would be your return. Now, 200,000, let's say you've got a free and clear home, you put and paid cash for the property, 5% appreciation, same parameters, 10% growth. You can see if you invested 200 grand, your return on investment isn't so good. So one of the things I really try to talk with clients about is cash is really king. These properties are going to go up whether you have a huge down payment or a small down payment. And I'm really of the mindset that your money can be used elsewhere to grow, especially when we have interest rates that are, low 3s, high 2s, and that's where we are today. So really looking at homes and how they appreciate. Now, the big question that we get a lot is, are we in a bubble? All those kind of things. And I didn't put too much information about that, because we are definitely not in a bubble. And this is absolutely the opposite of the 2006, 2007, 8, 9, 10 meltdown. And I lived through that. So definitely there's lots of things that are very different. And if you guys have questions about what those are, I can certainly tell you. But right now, home equity, I love this slide because it really kind of puts a number to the average equity that people have been appreciating year over year. It also is very cool to see that 38% of the homes that are owned free and clear. That's great, because back in 2006, most were leveraged. However, I do think that some people should be leveraging the really good interest rates right now and taking their money elsewhere, but totally up to them. And then current average equity in mortgaged homes. So people that have mortgages still have almost that much equity. So if they sold, they would walk away with a big chunk of money. Um, so this was from last year. So 2020 final house appreciation numbers. And these were the different agencies that gave us the annual appreciation last year. Keep in mind, this is nationally, but 10% appreciation year over year is a pretty massive amount of appreciation and a pretty massive amount of equity that went into your pocket if you owned. But unfortunately, caused housing prices to increase as well if you don't own and you're trying to catch them in this market. So again, typical homeowner in 2020 would have accumulated around 24,000 in housing wealth. That is probably, you know, way more if you've got, way more than if you've got a minimum 401k or anything like that. So housing long-term is definitely a positive thing. This was really interesting, I thought. If you are purchasing, the benefit of the price and appreciation made sense over renting in 48 out of the top 50 markets. The only exceptions would be San Francisco and San Jose, simply because they're so outrageously expensive. They're almost getting priced out of the market, and they're going to have to figure out how to do affordable housing because it's just not affordable there. All right. So the other thing that I think is really cool is looking at long-term appreciation, because if we can say, gosh, the market's really good now, but what if I pay 10 or 20 grand more for this house today? You know, is it going to correct in 2 years? Is it going to adjust? And am I going to be underwater, or am I going to be my equity gone? So I just took a very quick scenario. If someone was buying in Ramsey County and was paying for a property for about $260,000, and they did 10% down, and I simply reviewed 5 years of appreciation, this is what historically the appreciation would give you. So even if we took historical numbers on the amount of appreciation year over year, you still are appreciating annually at 3.86%, which is very, very normal and doable. I did one more that if we did and I did this one in Hennepin County, if we did appreciation for 10 years, and the forecasted appreciation is 3.4% year over year. Okay, so you can kind of see your $355,000 property is all the way up, and I'm sorry, these are small, but $497 in 10 years. That's a massive amount of equity and wealth built. And then here's that return on investment. That's crazy if you did 5% down. So return on your money. Last 2 things I go through, and then I'll open up for questions. I did a real estate report card, which basically takes Ramsey County and Hennepin County. I show you Hennepin County next, and looks at them currently. So median home price in Ramsey County, $260,542. Average appreciation historically for the last 61 years, 10 years, and 5 years. And you can really see here, you know, 3.86 is what I used for the historical appreciation, but the last 10 years and last 5 years, 6%. What we expect over the next year, and then what we expect in the next 5 years as it is cumulative. The other thing that I always point out here is the amount of homes that are actually being built versus the amount of homes that are actually being needed to keep up with demand. So the check mark box are the amounts actually being built. The other ones are actually the ones needing to be built. So you can see that shortage that our building is simply not keeping up with demand. The other thing that I always like to point out to clients is this. We have the largest amount of first-time home buyers entering the market. So if we go back 27 years, you will see for the next 3 years, we have the largest amount for the next 3 years going forward. We have the largest amount of birth rates back then, which is going to equate to the largest amount of first-time home buyers entering the market this year, next year, and the year after. So as much as we would love to say things will slow down or balance out, I'm just not sure if I see that happening this year. I'd probably say maybe next year we might get a little bit better and a little bit closer to a balanced market, but we are not going to have any corrections. We're not going to have anything like that for a few years until the amount of this demand kind of evens out or slows down a little bit. The other end of the spectrum that we've got to look at on this is if you've got all these first-time buyers coming into the market, they take from the inventory only. If I buy a home, I have a home to sell, so I balance it, right? But we have our aging population, which in general only gives inventory to the market because they're typically going to, they're kind of, 65 and older group, or they're going to nursing homes or whatnot, or they're moving in with family, which is becoming very popular. And so that group, that aging population, is staying in place longer now more than ever, most importantly because of COVID, but they're just aging in their homes because they can't find anything else that's just as good, and they don't want to go. They don't want to have to look for something else. And so they're staying longer and longer. So we just really have this uneven thing going on in the market where we've got so many first-time home buyers. We've got our aging population, which just isn't giving as much as they used to the market. We've got all these guys taking, and it just is really causing us some unevenness. So that's why this return on investment now is really, really good, because we still expect these homes to keep on appreciating. And the other thing is that interest rates are really good now. They will continue to be good, I think, until probably fall. Then I think, we will see what things look like at that time. And then I think you will definitely start to see things increasing a little bit. And we will definitely have higher interest rates next year, which not only you have higher home prices, but now you've got higher interest rates, and that makes the homes much more expensive long term. So that's why there's such a fever right now to get things, because interest rates are so low, and it keeps the cost of the home over time lower. Okay, guys, well, that's really all I have for you guys with regards to the how to win now, the appraisal stuff, and then return on investment. I will open it up to questions, or I'll take a quick peek in the chat box and see if you guys have any questions, anything else I can answer, or any other thoughts of what you want to know about this market right now. And you can feel free to unmute. It's fine. I don't have any controls on that. Anything else you guys want to know, or any other questions? Makes sense to me. Thank you for the info. You got it. Anyone else? Denise, Dan, all good? No questions? Did I answer the reasons that you guys jumped on this call today? Was there any other burning reason that I didn't answer that you would have jumped on this call to learn about this stuff? So if you offer a waiver for appraisal, is there no making up the appraisal difference? Great question. So if you decide you do not want your offer to be subject to an appraisal, there is no, I want to make sure I'm answering this correctly, because I think what you might be asking two different things. If you say, as you're making an offer, that you're waiving the appraisal because you have 20% down, and if the appraisal comes in a little bit light, we could work through the numbers by maybe doing a 15% down option, or you paying the difference, then there is no making up the appraisal difference. That is correct, because you would have made your offer not subject to any appraisal contingencies. However, if you make an offer, we get the appraisal waiver then basically says the value of the purchase price that you're paying is supported. So there would be no appraisal, there would be nothing to make up. So then the question that you're answering, there would be no appraisal difference. So yes, Did that cover it? Because I think, yeah, the waiver is something that you'll get once you make an offer. And we tell you, Dan, you're all good. We don't even need appraisal. There's nothing that can come in low. So should I wait if I can only put a small amount down? No. If you can, no, because I do have clients. I mean, I had a VA loan get accepted the other day, and that had 0 down. No, there are definitely people that are making offers and getting them accepted with 5%, but they are definitely doing some escalation clauses. They are definitely getting calls from me to the listing agents to really, talk through the value of how good your offer is, how good we are. You are definitely working with a great agent. You got to just have everything working for you. But no, I don't think you should wait, because if you can get something now, you will be so much better off than waiting for a year, because your interest rate will be higher next year and the cost of that home will be higher. So if we flip back, or if you think back to what I just showed you on the appreciation, if we think the homes are going to appreciate in Hennepin County or Ramsey County at 4%, well, next year, the amount of money that maybe you saved additionally next year is just going to be eaten up because the house is more expensive. You're paying more. So any more that you'd be able to put down, it's just going to be eaten up because the house got more expensive. So no, I would go out, I would look now, I would try to get all your ducks in a row, and I would try the best you can now. So your mortgage would be whatever my offer was. So no, your mortgage, so let's say you buy something. Thanks, Denise. You can pop off if you want. So if you purchase something at 300, and let's say you're buying or putting down 5%, your mortgage would be 285. So that would be your mortgage amount. The purchase price would be 300. The appraised value would be 300. Your equity would be the difference between the two. Okay. Now, if you want me to go through an appraisal gap, I can do that, but that's definitely more screen sharing and more things. Say you offered 320 with 20% down. So at 320 with 20% down, your mortgage amount would be 256 if the appraisal came in and if the purchase price and appraisal were the same. It's only if, let's say you offered 320 and you got it for 320, but the appraisal came in at 300. Okay, so I'm gonna write this down and make sure I'm covering it. So you offered 320, but the appraisal came at 300, and you're putting 20% down. No, if you waive the appraisal, nothing matters. You're done. It's 320, and then your 20% if that's what you're doing. Because if you get the appraisal waiver, all good. It's just if you don't get the appraisal waiver and the appraisal comes in short, that then we would look at either you bring in additional cash, or we would raise up the loan amount so you didn't have to bring additional cash. Okay. Let me know if that's different, or if you want to set up a different call so I can specifically run through numbers. But other than that, I think you've got it. Okay. All right. Well, let me know if you've got anything else or any other questions. Otherwise, thanks for jumping on. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.